Hello everybody, the UFC Wildcat here, and I'm bringing you episode 2 of DBZ Designs. This episode we're going to be covering blue style. Now, I think, and I've said it countless times, I think blue style is probably the most hindered style, is probably the weakest style, and a lot of that is not the blue's fault. A lot of it is just kind of the design of the game that blue's been so far. Blue's mastery is the anti-anger, preventative style. You don't want any attacks to hit you, you're lowering anger, your opponent's got to gain 6 anger to get to the next level, and it just, that's kind of what the Trunk Saga Mastery did for blue when the game first came out in Score with masteries in the Trunk Saga. So there is that, but then you look at blue's card pool, and you've got cards like Blue Lunar Ray, Blue Battle Readiness, you've got a bunch of ally recursion cards to get allies back, put allies into play. Blue Farewell, I think it is. That may not be the card, but the one that says shuffle an ally into your life deck, stop all attacks for the remainder of combat. And stuff like that, circulate around allies. So you've got anti-anger and allies. But then you add on to that, you look at some of the cards, they've got a lot of big, beefy physical attacks, physical for just straight up 5 stages, a lot of those physical for AT plus stages, plus 5 stages, like Blue Trap, I think Blue Trap Strikes, I don't know if that's plus 5, but then there's Blue Lunge, which is plus 5. So and then there's stuff that does a lot of setup recursion and drills that put stuff on top of your life deck. So there's a lot that blue is trying to do, and with that, I feel blue is so spread thin. There is so much, I want to be a physical deck, but I want to be an ally deck, so I want to run energy attacks that get me low. Well, I can run a few of those physicals, but I don't want to bog my deck down with physical attacks. But then on top of that, I may be trying to stop you from angering, and that's a lot of problems. We look at a deck like Blue Nappa. It still has a lot of problems with Namekian. Yes, it'll slow it down. If it gets a wall breaker on, it's probably keeping the wall breaker on. But if you don't get a wall breaker on, Namekian's still trying to anger on you pretty fast. So it's really hard to, get over that hump. And I feel like that's the big problem with blue. It's very spread thin with its card pool. You've got cards like black where everything's kind of centralized around banishing, getting cards shuffled in your deck, controlling the board. While blue, on the other hand, has so many cards that are just, doing too many different things, I think, in my honest opinion. So with DBZ Designs episode today, what can we do to fix that? What can we do to add some stuff to blue? And it's really hard. I went through a lot of stuff that, was on the Scorzy stuff when I was looking for my Scorzy cards that I would like reprinted. A lot of cards have already been reprinted. Blue Lunge is a reprint, Blue Face Smack, Blue Leverage. You've got Blue Stretch Kick, which is in a direct reprint, Blue Key Buildup, which is in a direct reprint. There's a card, Blue Healing Beams, which is the same thing as Blue Lunar Ray, just different name. So, I mean, there's a lot of cards that blue already had reprinted and added to the style that I think was pretty crazy to be dealing with. But, I went through and I found actually 3 cards that I would like reprinted that I think would actually be very, very good for the style. So let me grab my list here. We've got a few of these. The first card that I found that I thought would be fantastic if you want to be anger control, and it's not as damning as Wall Breaker is to an opponent, but we've got Blue Head Charge. It's from the Cell Saga. It's a rare. It's a physical attack, damage, AT plus 2 stages. Lower your opponent's anger to 0. Your opponent cannot gain anger until the beginning of his next turn. So this is a phenomenal card because it can lock a lot of those anger decks and maybe get you an ability to jump on like Namekian per se, keep them stage locked. Say Namekian enters on you and you play this as one of your first cards and they're on level 1 Piccolo or whatever, and you hit them and they don't have, say, Namekian Fusion for example. You hit them and you stage lock them. They can't, gain anger until their next combat or their next turn. So if they enter on you and then you enter right back on them, they still can't gain anger. So they're not going to level up. They're going to be staying at 0. And if you've got, say big cards like Nappa's Confidence to banish cards or destroy the top 4 cards plus get rid of a setup, it can be really, really crazy to stage lock your opponent like that. It's, like I said, not as damning as Wall Breaker is, because Wall Breaker is on, and unless they crit, it's not going away. So this is kind of like a turn thing. You could get tripped up if you run enough setups, and then when you use this when they enter on you, you draw your hand and you're all setups and you really don't have a hand you can enter on, they can gain anger again. So it's not the worst card that can be played against a Namekian deck. So I really think that would be a fantastic card to reprint. We go to the next one. This is a card from the Fusion Saga. It's Blue Knockdown. It's a physical attack that does, it's doing AT plus 5 power stages. Raise your MP to its highest power stage, and then places at the bottom of your life deck after you. So it could be not a direct reprint, but you could make it where it's a physical attack doing AT plus 5 stages, raise your MP to its highest power stage, rejuvenate after use. And that would be a fantastic card, because again, you can go with that physical mentality, and plus you get to reuse the card, and plus it's pumping you up to full. So against, like, if you're playing like a God Goku Blue, you don't have to worry about your opponent, you know, hitting you down and you're out of your highest stage, not getting the value out of your 100 million power stage. You play this card, you go to full as an immediate effect, and you're doing massive damage. So I think this would be a fantastic card to reprint if you want to go the physical route, like a Blue Godku deck. In that manner, I think it would be pretty cool, because I know my buddy ran a Blue Godku deck kind of right about when Set 2 came out, before, you know, we realized how bad it was off. But, you know, you get that get a card like Blue Knockdown going in, you're always going to be at full. You don't have to worry about, you know, the energy attacks you play in combat. If you're playing like a Krillin deck, you want to level them up, or a Namekian deck, you want to level them down with Neck Beam, or if you want to play some of the other energy attacks that are in the style. But this attack then would be able to be reused. It's plus 5 stages, and it puts you to your highest stage, which means you're doing the max amount of damage that you can based on your effects. The final card that I've got, I actually got this card when I was getting cards, because as you know, I make my own cards, and I just got a bulk of rare foils from Score Z. And as I was looking through them, seeing if there's any cards that I thought could be reprinted, I grabbed this card out because it looked fantastic. And this is a Blue Backhand. It's from the Fusion Saga, and it's a rare. It's a physical attack doing just 5 power stages. For the remainder of combat, all of your non-combats, non-drills, which is setups for Pansy, all of your setups that do not remove themselves from the game after use are placed at the bottom of your life deck. So that would be rejuvenated for us. And again, not a direct reprint probably, but a card that could be added in. So this is great for the fact that, you know, you can do stuff like Blue Capture, or Blue Trick. You know, play that card, capture a ball, and it's put at the bottom, so there's no worry about, you know, like a Death Blow hitting it and banishing it. Blue Blockade as well. You use Blue Blockade and you have Positioning Drill. Blockade that you use gets rejuvenated. You can go to your discard pile, put a Blue Blockade on top, and you're having blocks for days. It would be good for that setup-centric style that you want to be for blue if you want to go that route. And plus, it really rings with the theme. There's been a lot of physical attacks doing just 5 power stages of damage. And I think that would be pretty fantastic to have. I think a lot of the cards that I just added would be great for a Nappa, be great for a Godku physical deck. So that's kind of where I'm gearing. I want to be more physical with blue. You know, the allies are cool. I like them. But those are the cards I would like reprinted. So that's the physical route. And hopefully you guys agree with that. If you have any cards that you think would be great to be reprinted, leave a comment below or let me know. I would like to know, but that's me going through all the stuff and seeing what I could take, because again, a lot of it was already reprinted in some manner. Let us now go to the cards that we got submitted in. It wasn't a lot. I was pretty much picking from about 5 or 6 people. I would love to get more suggestions. I'll probably have to spam the Facebook page a little bit more, because I, you know, posted DBZ designs and then kind of hid it in the other posts that I've posted on there. But I think I need to let people know, like, hey, I really would like your design ideas. So again, it gets you people on YouTube that do watch this video as well. If you want to send me your designs, do so via my Facebook page on the retro page, or going to the UFC Wildcat Facebook page. We'd love to get more ideas, ideas to choose from. But right now, here are the 3 that I've gotten. The first one is pretty fantastic, because again, it goes with the theme of those setups that are also attacks. It's called Blue Greed, and it's a setup that's an attack. It's Endurance 2, energy attack costing 2 stages, damage 4 life cards. Your opponent loses X anger. Hit, gain X anger. X is the anger your opponent had when this attack is performed. So it's basically kind of similar to a blue head knock. You're going to lower your opponent no matter what. And if it hits, you're going to gain anger, which is pretty crazy. So think about it as this. I thought it was OP at first. It actually was. We made the gain anger a hit effect instead of just straight up gain anger, because that's a lot to do. Because like with Blue Frieza, you know, if you're on level 2, that's a hard level to get off of for a reason, because you don't have the cards that are going to, you know, pump you up really fast. This card basically got rid of that, which was, again, would make Frieza anger even more scary if you don't wall breaker him early. But basically with this, you're lowering them to 0. It's a virtual head knock, but it's on the table. Your opponent sees it, so, you know, they're gonna, it's not like a blue head knock where they're sitting like, does he have a blue head knock? Is he gonna lower my anger? Should I just sit back and wait and hopefully he gets rid of blue head knock? But this, they know it's coming. They can, you know, strategize around it, so it's not, you know, as damning as a blue head knock randomly can be when you're at 5 anger and they hit you with that. But it's pretty strong, because if it does hit, if you don't have an energy attack and they lower your anger to 0 while you're at 5, it is a free level of, no matter what their anger is. Except if you're playing blue versus blue matchup, then you would have to gain 6, but it's still a lot of anger to gain. So this card, I like it. It's a pretty cool idea, but I don't know how strong it would be. In my head, this is a really, really strong card, but I don't know how viable it could be. But again, it's something that would have to go to testing, and that's why the playtesters playtest card ideas. We then go to the next card, Blue Ally Strike. It's banished after use, energy attack costing 2 stages, damage is X, or 3 plus X life cards. X is the number of allies you have in play. Hit, raise or lower a player's anger by 2 levels. Or raise or lower a player's anger by 2 levels. This is a pretty cool card, because again, now we're back to some ally-centric cards, where, you know, like the Blue Ginyu would be awesome here. If you get to level 3 and you have 5 allies out, this is an energy attack doing 8 life cards, with Ginyu 2 doing 10 life cards, and that's a massive damage. And if it hits, you can try and pump up to level 4, where you're doing even more damage. A lot of, you know, great effects with that. And again, you know, it's pumping up those allies. Like, yeah, it's okay to run ally decks. You know, you aren't too hindered by that. Kind of an okay card. It's kind of one of those intermediate cards that, you know, some decks are playing it. There's definitely decks that are not playing it in blue, and it's kind of, you know, putting the style, again, stretching it out a little bit more, putting it, you know, we've got a bunch of physical cards, setup cards, and now we've got an ally card. But, you know, taken from the ideas, it's one of my favorites that were definitely put in. We got another one. It's a Blue Battleground Choice, which is a setup. It's limit 1 per deck, banish after use. End combat, skip the discard step. Pretty simple. It's kind of like a Saiyan Truce card in the fact that, you know, you end combat and you're both keeping your hand. And this is fine, but, you know, it can get really, really strong. The fact that both people skip the discard step makes it a little bit better, because it kind of postpones it. It's more of a card that I see being, you get entered on, you have like all these setups, all these allies, stuff that you play during the planning step, and you're like, shit, I'm going to get killed. You take 1 attack, you Battleground Choice, and you keep your hand, you unload your hand, and then your opponent has to discard his entire hand when you pass. So it can work that way, but again, that's the best case scenario. Your opponent could also, if you use it when you enter and something gets bad, if you have to use it when you enter, your opponent's going to have a crazy hand. So not too overpowered, but I can see where this card would be exploding onto somebody's face if you, you know, use it like the physical variant, where you keep your hand, your opponent also keeps his hand. Then you have like an 8-card hand, and your opponent also has an 8-card hand, and you enter, and you're basically saying, do you have blocks for all these attacks? So it's pretty cool. I like the idea of it, and it kind of changes a lot of the way that the style is going to be going if we run something like that, because it adds to those physical attacks as well. Those are the cards that I got sent in. Those are the 3 I chose, and again, those cards, I think the way I have been playing it, I will send those out, because the way I do it, when I print a sheet out of cards that I have to do, it has 8 cards on it, so every 3 weeks I will be able to send a card out. I may do it every 2 and make my own card that I make every week, so that way every 2 weeks I can send out cards to the people who won the choice that I gave them, and they will have their cards within 3 weeks of them submitting it. Yeah, within. So 3 is the max if you submit it 2, and then ship them out, hopefully. So those are the 3 cards that I chose. Let's move on to my decision. Mine, I went with an ally card. felt allies were really, really good in blue. Like, blue Ginyu is probably the best blue deck, but it is also the weakest Ginyu deck, and it is also one of the weakest decks. So, let's go into my card. It's Blue Rescue. It's an event with Endurance 3. If this card is discarded from your hand, search your discard pile for an ally and place it into play at 5 power stages above 0. So again, it's kind of, you know, there's a lot of discard effects as well. Like Blue Fear makes you discard a card. You can discard, there's other cards like Blue Leaping Kick, I think it is. Discard a card and it stays on the table, will be used again. You know, kind of, you know, using all those discard effects to try and pump up a lot of your cards, and I really like the rationale for this. The actual effect now. Use when an effect would banish or destroy an ally. The ally stays in play and you destroy the top 3 cards of your life deck. Pretty simple, but again, it's, you know, keeping your allies safe. There's a lot of like critical damage effects. There's a lot of Blue Betrayal, Blue Stare Down. Using something like this to keep your allies safe from harm, and you know they aren't going to, you know, worry about getting them away, especially for like a Ginyu deck who wants to keep certain allies in play. Goldo, especially Jace, because Jace I think is the most vital in blue, because if you lose him, you lose an energy for 5 every turn, and that's probably your biggest damage in the deck from an energy attack, which is pretty crazy. So that is why I like this card, because again, you save your allies, you keep them in play, and you know, again, it isn't for free. You don't just allies save, but you have to take some damage for it. So really, really do like the idea of that card, and hopefully something like that gets to be produced for set 3. But I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like the video, leave a like, rating, and subscribe for more The UFC Wildcats DBZ designs. Next episode, I think I'm right. I'm looking at my list. Yep. Our next style is, unfortunately, the best style in the game, Namekian, or the most synergetic style. So I need your ideas for what cards Namekian could use to boost them a little bit. Namekian, again, let's think of their bad matchups. They get really tripped up by Ginyu. They really get messed up, you know, sometimes against Krillin. It's like a 60-40, I think I would say the split is, for Krillin against Namekian, or Namekian against Krillin. So is there a way that we can fix that up so Namekian isn't really hurting against Krillin as much, or that, you know, they can help themselves against the Ginyu decks out there? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the UFC Wildcats signing out.